Let's listen in to the prosecution, who will continue questioning.
You were armed semi-automatic rifle that evening, correct?
Yes.
You had it loaded with 30 rounds of full metal jacket ammunition, correct?
Yes.
That weapon with 30 rounds is capable of killing at least 30 people, correct?
Yes.
You had arranged to have Dominic Black purchase that weapon for you in Ladysmith, Wisconsin in early May of 2020. Is that correct?
We were up north shooting, and not shooting. We were up north going camping, and Dominic Black brought his rifle, and we were talking. I was like, "Hey, what if we get a rifle for me? I'll give you the money. You can purchase it. It's yours until I'm 18." So I bought the rifle for Dominic, and I can use it, but once I'm 18, we can do a private sale, and we can have it turned over to my name once I turned 18.
Because you knew, as a 17-year-old, you could not have that gun, correct?
I knew I could not buy that gun.
You knew you could not possess that gun also, correct?
No.
You weren't aware that under Wisconsin law...
I'm going to instruct the jury later about the law, and that he wouldn't, what he thinks on the subject is not dispositive anyway, so it was unlawful for him to purchase the gun.
It wasn't just unlawful for you to purchase it, it was unlawful for you to bring it home, correct?
In Illinois, I wasn't able to bring it home because I didn't have a FOID card, a firearm owner identification card. You knew in Illinois
that you couldn't get that until you turned 18, correct?
No, you can get a FOID card at 16 in Illinois.
But you didn't have one?
I did not.
And even after this gun was purchased for you in May, you never got one after that either, did you?
Actually, I applied for a FOID card in May of 2020, but due to the charges, and there was a backlog in Illinois for the FOID card, but after you filed the charges against me, it was denied because of the charges here in this state.
You found out about that after you were criminally charged in this case?
I found out about this in November of 2020. A letter was sent to my old residence.
So you knew that without that FOID card, the gun could not go back to your residence in Illinois, correct?
Correct.
And you agreed that the gun would be kept at Dominic Black's stepfather's house here in Kenosha, correct?
Because he had a safe, yes.
And you agreed that you wouldn't have access to that gun, correct?
We agreed that the only time I would use the gun is when I was with him, and we would go to like the Bristol shooting range or up north to his land.
But the only time prior to the night of August 25th, 2020 that you ever used that gun was up in Ladysmith, correct?
Correct.
So you didn't go to the Bristol shooting range ever?
I did. That gun. Not with that rifle, but I did.
Pay attention to my question, please. You didn't ever go to the Bristol shooting range with that gun, correct?
Correct.
And you picked out that gun because Dominic had one, correct?
Yeah.
You could have, if you wanted to, chosen from any number of guns that were for sale, fair enough?
That were at that store. There weren't many, but yes.
I'm sure the store in Ladysmith isn't the only store that sells guns, correct?
You can ask questions.
That was a question.
No, it was a statement.
Isn't it correct, Mr. Rittenhouse, that there are other places to purchase guns besides that one store in Ladysmith, Wisconsin?
I believe so, but that's where we're at, so that's where we got the gun.
And you, if you wanted to, could have given Dominic Black money to purchase a gun at other locations, fair?
Didn't cross my mind, but now that you say it, yeah.
Why did you pick or want Dominic Black to buy for you an AR-15 as opposed to a pistol or a shotgun or some other type of rifle?
I cannot legally possess or carry a pistol because I'm not 18 in Wisconsin. I believe it's 18 in Wisconsin for a pistol. But with the rifle, I knew I could possess that rifle. I knew I couldn't buy it, but I knew I could like take it to like the shooting range or possess it. And with shotguns, they didn't have any shotguns in stock. That was my original plan, to get a shotgun for trap shooting, but there weren't any at that Lady Smith store, and I didn't want to go to Walmart and buy one.
So your understanding at that time was that Wisconsin law prohibited you as a 17-year-old from possessing a pistol, but you could have an AR-15?
Yes.
What was that understanding based on?
The understanding was based on when we would go up north. It was me, Dominic, and my sister, and we were allowed to carry the rifles around, and the officers over there said it was fine.
I'm going to move to strike as hearsay, what officers would have told
You
me.
asked the question of what the source of his knowledge was. It's not admissible, and none of this is, frankly, and that's why I interrupted before. What the defendant believes the law to be, what the district attorney believes the law to be, what the defense believes the law to be, are irrelevant. I will tell you, when I instruct you, what the law of Wisconsin is pertaining to the possession of a firearm by a person under 18, and that'll be the source of your knowledge. I'm allowing the testimony right now because it bears on. There's an old maxim under the law: ignorantia juris non excusat. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Ignorance of the criminal law is not an excuse. If you commit a criminal act, whether you knew it was criminal or not, you're responsible for your conduct, and because you're responsible to know the law. It's not relevant, except in this case there are specific issues about his awareness and knowledge about certain conduct that is relevant on some issues. So it's quite complicated. Hopefully it'll sort out when I instruct you at the end. But that's why I'm allowing the questions and the answers. But do not be confused about anything that these people say is not necessarily accurate as to the state of Wisconsin law. Any question about that? Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
So you're telling us that the reason that you wanted Dominic to buy you an AR-15 as opposed to a pistol is the only reason was because you felt you couldn't lawfully possess a pistol?
Correct.
You didn't pick out the AR-15 for any other reason?
I thought it looked cool, but no.
You didn't pick it out because you wanted to go hunting with it, did you?
No.
You didn't pick it out because you were going to use it to protect your house, correct?
Correct.
You picked it out because it looked cool.
I thought it looked cool. Guess that's the reason, yes.
It resembled the types of weapons that are used in first-person shooter video games, correct?
I don't really play first-person shooter video games. I have, but I believe there's a variety of guns, including shotguns, pistols. There's guns in video games that resemble all guns.
Isn't it true when you would hang out with Dominic Black, you'd play Call of Duty and other first-person shooter video games?
Sometimes.
And those are games in which you use weapons like AR-15s to pretty much shoot anybody who comes at you, correct?
It's a video game where two players are playing together. I don't really understand the meaning of your question, to be honest.
Isn't one of the things people do in these video games try and kill everyone else with your guns?
Yeah, in the video game, it's just a video game. It's not real life.
Now, you introduced yourself as living in Walworth County right now. Is that right? On the date that this all happened, you were an Illinois resident?
Correct.
You had grown up in Illinois?
Correct.
You had not spent any significant time living here in Wisconsin, correct?
No.
You'd agree with me that's correct?
No, I've spent time at my father's house and partially live here also, so no, that's not correct.
You indicated you had attended, was it Penn Foster High School?
Yes.
That's an online high school?
Correct.
So you were not attending high school in person.
No.
And at the time that all of the things in this case were happening, from the time the AR-15 was purchased to the night of August 25th, you were 17 years old that entire time, correct?
Correct.
Could we have exhibit number 7 up, please? I have put exhibit number 7 up on the screen. Do you recognize that?
Yes, that's my old TikTok account.
That was a TikTok account that you had during the summer of 2020, correct?
Yes.
And it says your name on there, Kyle?
Yes.
Your username on TikTok was Ford with your AR-15, correct?
Yes.
And underneath that, you have put on your profile the phrase, bruh, B-R-U-H, I'm just tryin', T-R-Y-N-A, be famous. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're the one who wrote that.
Yes.
You testified that at some point you were involved in some sort of EMT cadet program.
I was a firefighter EMT cadet at Antioch Fire Department.
When was that?
I was a cadet at the Antioch Fire Department. I believe from 2018 or 2019 up until the incident of August 25th.
An EMT cadet is someone who's just beginning the process of eventually achieving full EMT certification. Is that correct?
No.
Were you studying to be an EMT before August 25th, 2020?
I was learning about certain things in the field of firefighting and EMS.
But that's not actually formal classes, is it?
No, we met once a week, and we would either, depending on the day, we would either do EMT stuff like learning how to do airways, or we do firefighter stuff like doing hose drags and learning how to crawl through buildings.
And these are things that you did with the, which firefighter? Antioch Fire?
Antioch Fire Department.
You weren't a member of the fire department, were you?
I was.
You were a actual on-duty member on the roster of the Antioch Fire Department?
No.
So when you say you're a member, what do you mean?
I was a member of the Antioch Fire Cadet program. We were issued shirts, Antioch Fire Cadet member. We would help with the pancake breakfast at the VFWs, and we would wear Antioch Fire Department staff shirts. I still have one in my closet.
Maybe I didn't express myself clearly. You were not a member of the Antioch Fire Department, correct?
I was a member of the cadet program, which was through the fire department.
So you'd go out and fight fires?
We can go on ride-alongs, but we can't go into burning buildings for liability reasons.
You'd go out there and you'd save people from burning buildings?
Not me personally.
Because as a cadet, they would never let you anywhere near that, right?
They wouldn't let any of the cadets go into an actual live fire.
At the end of whatever this program is, you weren't actually going to be an official firefighter, were you?
No, it's to help prepare you for the firefighter academy, firefighter EMT academy.
And you weren't going to be an EMT at the end of this program either, were you?
No.
You know that to be an EMT, you have to be 18 and a high school graduate, correct?
Depending on the state, in Illinois, you can take a class at the college at 16, and you can have your EMT license by the age of 17. I wasn't in that class, but in Illinois you can.
You never did any of that?
No, I was online school.
The night of August 25th, you're here in Kenosha, Wisconsin, saying you're an EMT, correct?
Yes.
That was a lie.
Yes.
You were also telling people you were 18 or 19 years old. That was a lie too, right?
No, I didn't tell anybody my age that night.
You never volunteered it at all, did you?
I didn't.
Because you knew as a 17-year-old you shouldn't have been there, right?
No, I just didn't find it relevant to give my name. Well, I gave my name, but my age to anybody. It wasn't something that came up in conversation.
It's because you felt if people found out how old you were, they'd realize you shouldn't have been there, right?
No, it just because it didn't come up in conversation. If somebody would have asked, I would have been like, yeah, I'm 17.
So you felt that as a 17-year-old, it was appropriate for you to be out on the streets of Kenosha with an AR-15 that night. Fair?
I believe I had any other right to be there as anybody else.
As any other adult.
As anybody.
But you weren't an adult.
No.
You indicated that you were working at the Recplex and had been working at the Y before that. Is that right?
Yes.
That was a YMCA down in Illinois, correct?
Correct.
And you had gotten furloughed there when COVID hit in March?
Yes.
And you had only started working at the Recplex on August 14th, correct?
I believe I got hired before that, but I was on vacation on August 14th, so I was on vacation, so I couldn't start until August 14th.
Your first time working at the Recplex was on August 14th, correct?
I believe that was my first day.
And then you worked the week after that from August 17th to August 23rd, correct?
I believe so, till August 24th I worked.
And then your final shift was on August 24th, correct?
Yes.
You worked a total of 41 and a half hours at the Recplex, correct?
That's the number you got?
And you were a lifeguard.
Yes.
You were walking around their swim area with one of those red, long, life-saving things, monitoring the pool, correct?
A rescue tube, yes.
Okay. So, but that was at the indoor pool at the Recplex?
It was at the indoor. It was at the. I don't know if you're familiar with the Recplex.
I am.
I guarded the water park area and the competition pool.
Okay. So they've got a water park area with a slide and a zero-entry pool. Is that right?
Yes.
And then next to that, they've got a larger, almost Olympic-sized pool where swim meets happen.
50-meter competition pool divided in half to make it a 25.
Okay. And you were lifeguarding at both of those.
I would rotate. We had rotations, and me and other guards, we would do we had 3-person shifts. We would rotate out watching the different areas of our zones.
You indicated that at no time did this gun, this AR-15, ever leave the state of Wisconsin. Is that right?
Other than the night after, other than that.
Before the shootings.
Correct.
There was a time, though, where you wanted to have it with you down in Illinois, isn't it? It wasn't there?
I believe there was a time when me and Dominic were mad at each other. Yeah.
You were mad at Dominic?
Me and Dominic were mad over something.
And you wanted to have the gun with you down there?
I think I said something along those lines.
You'd agree with me that let me back up for a second here. You have testified to this jury that you used deadly force against Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber, the man who attempted to kick you in the face, and Gage Grosskreutz on the night of August 25th, correct?
Yes.
And you did that because you felt that your life was in danger from those 4 people, correct?
Yes.
And you are telling this jury that it was, in your mind, justified to use deadly force to protect your own life, correct?
Yes.
You'd agree with me that you were not allowed to use deadly force to protect that CarSource building, correct?
Well, I wasn't using deadly force to protect the property. I used deadly force to protect myself, so.
Please listen to my question and answer my question if you can. You'd agree with me that you were not allowed to use deadly force to protect that CarSource building, correct?
Yes.
You'd agree with me that you were not allowed to use deadly force to stop someone from smashing the windows of an unoccupied parked car, correct?
I don't think you could use deadly force for that.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone from lighting a metal dumpster on fire, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone from tipping over a porta potty, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone from lighting a flatbed trailer on fire, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone who is about to start an unoccupied car on fire, correct?
Correct.
You'd agree with me that you can't use deadly force to stop someone from lighting some traffic cones in the middle of the street on fire, correct?
Correct.
So you understand that there's a difference between using deadly force to protect yourself and using it to protect property, correct?
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that you're not allowed to use deadly force to protect property, correct?
Yes.
But yet you have previously indicated that you wished you had your AR-15 to protect someone's property, correct?
I'm going to ask you to go into the library again for a moment, please. Please don't talk about the case.
All right, so once again, jury being told to leave the room here for a moment. The judge, once again, having an issue here with the prosecutor in the way that these questions are being formed and some of the questions and evidence that is being brought up here. So we are going to hear from the judge here in just a moment as he talks to the prosecutor and the state here on how to proceed here. He gave him a warning before. Let's listen.
Mr. Richards.
Your Honor, Mr. Bingard is either forgetting the court's rulings or attempting to provoke a mistrial in this matter. He knows he can't go into this, and he's asking the questions. I asked the court to strongly admonish him, and the next time it happens, I'll be asking for a mistrial with prejudice. He's an experienced attorney, and he knows better.
Mr. Bingard.
First of all, Your Honor, this was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that, and the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked for reconsideration. You did on the one motion, and in fact, I granted your motion for reconsideration.
That was not a motion.
Excuse me. I did. I granted.
We did not move
that
to
was
reconsider.
Their motion.
We have not filed any
me.
motions to reconsider in this case.
That was their motion for reconsideration, which I denied. But I said I denied it, or I indicated a bias towards denial is what I did. Held it open with a bias towards denial. Why would you think that that made it okay for you, without any advance notice, to bring this matter before the jury? I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what you're up to.
May I respond?
Yes.
We filed an other acts motion on this exact issue because, in my mind, and I argued this, it is identical to what was going on the night of August 25th, in the sense that the defendant was using this exact same weapon. He was using it in a manner to try and protect property.
No, he wasn't.
Your Honor, with all due respect,
I'm not going to rehash the motion. That's absolutely untrue. No. Your arguments of record, my comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest anything's changed. Even if you're correct in your assumption that you know more than I did at the time, you should have come to the court and say, I want to go into this. Why you would think that you could go into it without any advance notice to the court, I don't understand that. And as the defense is pointing out, you're an experienced trial lawyer, and this should not have been gone into.
Your Honor, there have been things in this case testimony in this case that I believe opens the door to this. For example, the defense has introduced evidence that the defendant pointed a gun at a man wearing yellow pants because that person was on a car on the car source lot. Now, there's no justification that I can think of why the defendant would point that gun at someone. The defendant has just testified this morning that he agreed with that person in the yellow pants, that he pointed the gun at him. He said, I was joking when I said that to the guy in the yellow pants, but he said, he's acknowledged that he told the person in the yellow pants, yeah, you're right. I did point a gun at you when you were sitting on a car.
He said, I did. That's what he
Exactly.
testified.
So he's agreeing. May I finish, please? I'd like to have a chance to make a record if I could, without being interrupted, if that's okay. He has mentioned that he's acknowledged that he's used this gun to protect property. He's also just acknowledged that he knows he can't do that. I am attempting to impeach him now with the prior August 10th incident, 15 days prior, involving the same gun, where he is threatening to use that gun to protect property.
He didn't have the gun with him.
Your Honor, he is saying he wished he did so he could shoot people.
You know, there's a lot of difference between commenting about something when you haven't got a gun and threatening someone when you do.
You know, it's interesting, Your Honor, because the entire defense theory in this case is Joseph Rosenbaum, who was unarmed.
I want you to tell me what the defense theory of the case is. May I
respond to what you just said, Your Honor? I'd like to respond to what you just said. I apologize, Madam Court Reporter, but I'd like to try and make a record without anyone interrupting me, if that's okay. I believe that there is a central part of this case that Mr. Rosenbaum is making threats that he has no ability to carry out. So, to your point, Your Honor, you're arguing that this August 10th incident, one aspect of why you don't believe it's relevant is the defendant didn't have the gun with him. This case is about someone who didn't have a weapon, and yet the jury is being told because of those threats, that means the defendant has to defend himself. So, with all due respect, Your Honor, mere verbal threats have already been shown to this jury and used as a basis for someone's subsequent actions. I am attempting, with the defendant, to use his mere verbal threat on August 10th, 15 days prior, that he's going to shoot shoplifters with his AR-15 to impeach the defendant in a murder trial. I would ask the court's forbearance to do that. I apologize, Your Honor. You're right. I probably should have brought this to your attention earlier. I may have misunderstood your ruling because I thought your ruling was if the evidence in this case made that more relevant, you would admit it or at least consider it an admittance. I believe, based on the evidence that we've heard, and more specifically exactly what the defendant said earlier about admitting pointing a gun at someone who was merely jumping or sitting on a car, that the door is open now to this testimony. And I continue to believe that his state of mind, his intent, his belief as to self-defense is the core of this case. That was the basis for my motion. You were strongly inclined against it. I understand that. But now we're in the middle of trial, and there's been a lot of evidence that's come in that I think makes this relevant. So I'm attempting to impeach the defendant on his beliefs. I believe I'm entitled to impeach the defendant on his beliefs and on his statements.
I'm going to interrupt you now because you're talking about his beliefs. I think that's what they call
his statements to, Your Honor. Because he just said, can't use deadly force, can't threaten to use deadly force to protect property. So now I'm impeaching him on that.
Your Honor, the court has seen no reason to change its ruling. And just so this record is clear, in spite of the lengthy statement by Mr. Binger, before we started today, the court specifically stated in Mr. Binger's presence, there's been nothing to have me change any of my rulings. There have been numerous occasions during this trial where they've opened the door. The one time when they're going into Mr. Rosenbaum's prior reason he doesn't like guns, and I said something, I whispered in Mr. Krause's ear, it's because of the prior convictions. Please stop. And he did. He knows if you're going to go into something that's been excluded in a pretrial order, you better ask the court, you better get permission. This is ridiculous.
It wasn't excluded, Your Honor.
You know why it was excluded in the first place? Because it was propensity evidence. That is exactly what 90404 is designed to prevent. You're talking about his attitudes. His attitude is he wants to shoot people. Now, I've admitted that kind of evidence in other trials when it's been appropriate. I didn't admit it in this case because, to me, what I've heard in this trial, and by the way, Mr. Richards absolutely correctly points out that just hours ago, I said I had heard nothing in this trial to change any of my rulings. So why?
Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the defense
Don't
testimony.
get brazen with me. You knew very well. You know very well that an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge has already ruled without asking outside the presence of the jury to do so. So don't give me that. That's number one. Number two, this is propensity evidence. I said at the time that I made my ruling, and I'll repeat again now for you, I see no similarity between talking about wishing you had your AR gun, which you don't have, so that you could fire rounds at these thought to be shoplifters, and the incidents in these cases, which are not, there's nothing in your case that suggests the defendant was lying in wait to shoot at somebody or reflecting upon the shooting for a vast amount of time. Every one of the incidents involves matters that involve seconds in time. So I commented at the time, I don't see the similarity, and I don't see the similarity now. If it's not similar, that's the whole rule. Those are all the exceptions to 90404. Check the authorities. Wigmore and evidence. Judge Weinstein. Colonel McCormick. It's the prior act has to bear the signature of the accused, or it has to be so similar as to suggest it's a common plan or something like that. You have an incident where he's making comments about some alleged shoplifters versus crimes that involve instantaneous actions, whether premeditated murder or whether self-defense. That's for the jury to decide. But I don't see the similarity. I said it couldn't come in, and it isn't coming in, no matter what you think. Number two, I have to be concerned that with what Mr. Richards has said about the progress of the trial, and when you were I said you were over the line, close to or over the line on commenting on the defendant's pretrial silence, which is a well-known rule. I'm astonished that would have been an issue. So I don't want to have another issue as long as this case continues. Is that clear?
It is.
Thank you. Ask the jury to come back in, please.
All right, everybody, for those of you just watching here, the jury was in the other room as the judge was really doing a law lesson to the prosecution here over the type of questions that were being asked here and the ways that they were formed and not going through the proper channels before this trial started today here. So the jury is getting back now into the room. Kyle Rittenhouse still on the stand here, and prosecution still in the cross-examination here, but a lot of momentum has definitely left this room for the prosecution right now, and we will see what will happen in the coming moments right here on Live Now from Fox. You're watching always live, raw, and unfiltered right here. Gavel-to-gavel coverage. That's what you can expect right here on Live Now from Fox.
All right, folks, the objection has been sustained. Go ahead, Mr. Finger.
Thank you, Judge. So I want to turn your attention to the day of August 25th, 2020.
Okay.
You had spent the night at Dominic Black's house, is that right?
Yes.
And you indicated that you had worked at the Recplex the night before, is that right?
The 24th, correct.
Okay. And you worked until about 7 p.m.?
I couldn't give you an exact time, but I'd say I got off around between 6 and 7. I don't recall. It's been a while.
And then you drove your car over to Dominic's house?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the rest of the time it seems like you're being driven around in Mr. Black's car. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Why did you guys use his instead of yours, if you know?
At the time, I didn't have a driver's license, and I would drive just to get to work and sometimes to go to Dominic's dad's house.
So even though you didn't have a driver's license, you drove from your home in Antioch to the Recplex to work that day?
Yes, to be able to get to work.
And then after work, you drove without a driver's license to Dominic Black's house?
Yes.
So I assume then on the week prior to that, when you drive yourself to work, that was also without a driver's license?
Objection to this.
Go ahead.
I'll move on. So you drove to Mr. Black's house, you left your car there,
Yes.
and you spent the night at his house.
Yes.
And then the next day, you guys woke up at some point and came down to Ruther. Is that right?
Spent the night at his house and had dinner. Woke up in the morning. Had breakfast. We were going through I was on social media and we saw the damage, and we saw the car store, so we decided to go downtown.
And you came down in Dominic's car.
Correct.
And you said that there was a time in which you were cleaning graffiti at Ruther.
Yes.
And then at some point, I believe you said, and I want to make sure I'm understanding the timeline here, that you went to one of the car sources and encountered the owners, Sam or Sal or whoever they are, correct?
Yes.
Which of the car source locations was that?
It was the car source right here.
And that's the one at the northeast corner of 59th and Sheridan?
Correct.
And that's the one that had gotten totally burned out on one of the previous nights?
Yes, that was the one where everything was destroyed. The other car sources still had cars there. So
Now, before that, had you ever worked at Car Source before?
I have not.
Had you ever bought a car there before?
I have not.
Had you ever even heard of Car Source before all that?
Yes.
Through Dominic?
Well, no. I would drive past it on a daily basis. I was in Kenosha almost every day, and I drive down Sheridan Road almost every day.
Okay. So you saw the business along with the churches and the Ultimate gas station and the courthouse and everything else in that area?
Yes.
Okay. And you talked to these owners yourself?
Me and Dominic did.
And did they ask you to come protect the property?
They didn't ask me.
Directly?
They didn't ask me directly. They asked Nick Smith.
Okay. And was Nick Smith around for that at that moment?
He wasn't there when me and Dominic were talking to them.
Did you ever personally witness any of these Car Source folks, Sal or Sam or any of the folks that were running that business, did you ever personally witness them ask Nick Smith to guard any of their properties?
No.
Did you ever witness any of them ask anyone to guard any of their properties?
Not that I can recall.
What time, if you recall, did you find out that they'd asked Nick Smith?
I believe I said in my direct examination between 3:15 and 3:30.
And that was shortly after you had sent a text to Sam, right?
Correct.
And you texted him and asked him if you could protect his business that night, correct?
I did.
And in that text you said, I'm more than willing and will be armed, correct?
Yes.
You meant you'd be armed with your AR-15?
Yes.
And you said that me and my brother would both be there armed, correct?
Yes.
By your brother you meant Dominic?
Yes.
He's obviously not legally your brother.
No.
And you said in the text, I just need address. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Why did you need the address of a location you'd already been to?
I just wanted to pinpoint it on the Google Maps because GPS, because with all the roads were closed down in Kenosha. I just wanted to know the best route to drive there with Dominic.
But you just told us that you drove past here every day up and down Sheridan. Why did you need GPS to help you find a place that you drive past every day?
The roads weren't closed when I drove past them every day.
But you still knew where you were going, right?
Sort of, but with the back roads.
Okay, so let's talk about the roads being closed. What do you mean by that?
Well, Sheridan Road was closed off, and I'm trying to remember. I don't think there are a lot of roads closed off. I couldn't tell you exactly their names right now.
Was that because there was construction going on?
No, they were closed off because of the riots.
They were closed off to keep people out of the area, right?
Yes.
And you knew there was a curfew that night, right?
I believe I got an emergency alert text at around 8 p.m.
Just like everybody else, saying, stay off the streets.
I'm sorry.
Objection. There's no curfew charge.
It's still relevant to his decision making. Just like everybody else, you got a message saying, get off the streets at 8 o'clock that night, right?
Yes.
And despite that message, you came down, correct?
I was already in Kenosha downtown when I got that message.
Once you got that message, you didn't decide, I'm going to leave and go home like I'm supposed to, correct?
I stayed at the car source.
And you knew that there was this curfew in place that meant you shouldn't be there anymore, correct?
There were, I'd say, hundreds, if not thousands, of other people there that night that also got the same message.
So if they're all breaking the law, you can too?
I don't think the curfew was really being enforced.
So if a law is not being enforced, you can disregard it?
Your Honor.
It's argumentative.
You said that there was a time in which Nick Smith asked you guys to drive him down to Chicago
Correct.
to buy a piece of body armor
Correct.
down by O'Hare.
Correct.
And you guys were willing to do that at first.
Dominic was willing to do it. It was more of Dominic's thing because Nick Smith was going to throw in like $20 to Dominic when he bought it for like gas.
So Nick Smith was going to pay $20 for the gas to drive down to O'Hare where Nick Smith was planning on buying this body armor.
Yes.
And he needed that body, the idea was the body armor would be used that night, correct?
I believe so.
That's why there was some urgency about going down right away, right?
Yeah.
This was part of the plan to come down to downtown that night, right?
He wanted to go to O'Hare to buy the body armor, so yes.
Do you understand my question?
Can you rephrase
Sure,
it?
absolutely. The urgency to get that body armor that day was because he needed it for that night, right?
Well, I wouldn't say he needed it, but he wanted it.
And instead of making the drive, you gave that your own body armor to Nicholas Smith.
Correct.
You had it along with you.
Yes.
You brought it along with you that day because you thought you might need it yourself that night, correct?
No, I kept it in my trunk of the car. I always had it.
You drive around with body armor in the trunk of your car regularly?
Well, it was just in the back of my trunk. I never really took it out.
And you said at some point that day you went to Jelinski's. That's the hunting goods, fishing store out on Highway 31 and 52nd Street to buy a couple of slings. Is that right?
That's correct.
And this was one sling for you and one for Dominic, right?
Yes.
And you bought two of the identical type of sling, correct?
Yes, the cheapest ones they had.
And that's a single point sling, meaning it attaches to the gun in one location, correct?
Yes.
And then it wraps around your body, correct?
Yes.
And it's designed to help you retain possession of that weapon, correct?
You'd probably know more about them than I do. I just got it to hold the rifle, so when I'm doing medical aid, I don't have to sit on the ground and have to worry about it being stolen.
Because you realize that you couldn't have that gun on you while you're doing any sort of medical aid, correct?
I knew that I couldn't, without a sling, have it on me. That's why I got the sling, so I could have my hands free.
But even when you had the sling, there was a time in which you took off your entire gun apparatus and handed it to Joanne Fiedler because it was in the way of you trying to treat someone, right?
At that instance, yes, because it was hitting the ground The rifle was hitting the ground. When I bought it, that was the purpose of it. I don't think it really worked, now that I think of it.
This big, long AR-15 really got in the way whenever you tried to help someone, right?
Sometimes.
If you had a handgun, for example, it would have been physically more easy for you to try and treat someone. Fair?
If I could have legally carried a handgun, I would have carried a handgun instead of a pistol. I mean, instead of a rifle.
You grabbed some medical supplies from Dominic Black's house before you came downtown that night, correct?
I grabbed extra gauze, but that's about it.
You testified earlier that your AR-15 was loaded with 30 rounds of ammunition. Is that right?
Yes.
Where did that ammunition come from?
That was from our last trip up north, from May, the time we took it up north.
So when the gun was left at Dominic Black's house, it had that ammunition with it?
Yeah, the ammo was in a box, in a magazine, I don't really know.
When you were at Dominic Black's house on August 25th, you found that AR-15 downstairs in his basement, correct?
No.
Where did you find it at?
It was downstairs in the basement, but I was told by Dominic Black, hey, go downstairs, grab your rifle.
So you knew up until that point that rifle was being stored in a gun safe in the garage, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't have the code or any access to that gun safe, correct?
I did not.
It just happened that on this particular day, Dominic Black's stepfather had moved that gun into the house, correct?
Yes.
You didn't know that beforehand?
I didn't.
You didn't know that it had been taken out of the safe?
No.
And so you went downstairs and grabbed it?
After instructed to do so by Dominic, I did.
And it had that magazine?
After I was instructed to do so. After I was instructed to do so by Dominic, I did go downstairs and grab it.
And it had the magazine already inserted in the rifle?
It did.
And the magazine was already loaded with 30 rounds?
I believe so.
When did you chamber a round?
I don't know if I ever did.
Well, you had to have to fire the gun, right?
Yeah, I think it was already chambered when I got it. That's what I remember. I don't remember racking it at all that night.
Because the way this type of gun works is that you have to have a magazine with ammo in it. You have to insert the magazine into the gun, and then you have to rack it to load one of those rounds into the chamber, correct?
Yes.
And you were familiar with how to do all of that, correct?
Yes.
And it can't discharge a bullet unless a bullet is racked into the chamber, correct?
Correct.
And so your testimony here, as best you can recall, is that you never had to do the initial racking because the bullet was already in the chamber when you took possession of it that day. Is that fair to say?
I believe so. I believe that it was already racked.
And the ammunition that was in that was full metal jacket ammunition, correct?
.223 full metal jacket.
.223 being the caliber.
Yes.
And full metal jacket being the type of casing, correct?
Yes. Full metal jacket is the bullet type.
The bullet type. Okay, I apologize. And you're aware there are different types of bullets, like hollow point bullets, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And when you were in the process of purchasing this gun, well, let me back up for a second. You said that the 30 rounds of ammo were left over from previous. I assume you mean when you were up in Ladysmith?
Yes.
And you were practicing with the gun up there?
Yes.
And Dominic Black's family has some sort of firing range or shooting range up there, is that right?
They have a gravel pit where it's safe to shoot.
And you and Dominic would practice with your AR-15s shooting at targets in that gravel pit, correct?
Correct.
And you would shoot at targets as far as, 75 yards away?
No.
How close were the targets?
I think the furthest I ever got was maybe from me to the TV.
You didn't shoot at any targets farther away than that?
No.
Dominic Black testified that he shot at targets 75 yards away. Did you see him do that?
I didn't, but I don't know what Dominic Black saw or what Dominic Black was shooting at. I wasn't with him when he did that.
But you were aware of the fact that the AR-15 was capable of hitting targets much further away than you to the TV, correct?
I believe so.
Did you know the capabilities of your own weapon?
I knew that it could shoot, and I believe from a distance. I don't know how far. I'm not an expert on AR-15s.
Did you personally purchase that .223 full metal jacket ammunition?
I did not.
Who did?
Dominic did.
Did you ask him to purchase it?
I did not.
So you didn't know what type of ammo was in that gun. Is that right?
I knew they were .223 full metal jackets. The first time I shot it, I had to load it into the magazine.
So you knew the type of round, but you didn't know what those rounds were capable of doing. Is that fair to say?
Believe a bullet's a bullet.
As you sit here today, you know that there are different types of bullets, right?
Yes.
You know that hollow point bullets, for example, do different things to a animal or a human than full metal jacket bullets, correct?
Yeah. Full metal jacket is a defense round, like another type of defense round. I know people use full metal jacket for hunting, and hollow point is something that causes more damage.
Hollow point bullets are designed to hit the animal that they're being shot at, let's say a deer, for example, and explode inside that body, correct?
No, I don't think so.
When you say explode, are you saying expand or explode? Because there are such things as exploding bullets.
Sure. Let me rephrase. Mr. Rittenhouse, what is your understanding of what a hollow point bullet would do if it were shot at, say, a deer?
I don't think people use hollow point.
That wasn't my question, sir. What is your understanding of what that bullet would do? Let me rephrase it then, because you're aware that people use hollow point bullets in their pistols to defend themselves against other people, correct?
Yes.
Ryan Balch, for example, testified in this trial that he was carrying a pistol loaded with hollow point ammunition for self-defense. Do you remember that testimony?
I do.
So what is your understanding, if you have one, as to what hollow point ammunition would do to a human?
I believe it would do the same thing as any other bullet. Like I said, a bullet's a bullet. I just believe hollow points. I'm sorry, I don't know much about ammo. I'm trying to think of what I remember, but I just don't know much about ammo.
So you didn't know the difference between what a full metal jacket bullet would do versus a hollow point, right?
I believe a hollow point, I just don't know much about this. I believe a hollow point would cause more damage
to the first target, but it wouldn't continue through to any other targets, right?
I don't know the answer
Whereas
to that.
A full metal jacket bullet is specifically designed to continue through its first target and keep flying, correct?
First of all, the hollow point is not guaranteed to stay in the first object struck, which is, so what you said was not correct. Secondly,
there's no testimony on that, Your Honor.
No, but you've been testifying, and that's what Mr. We're going to take a break for lunch. Please don't talk about the case. Read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial. We'll see you. Let's hope at about 12:45. Oh, I've got a couple of hearings. Let's say 1 o'clock. I apologize for taking time away from you.